The Elderly in Disaster by Tiffany Kroll. When we think about disasters, we think about life-changing events, most often caused by things like natural disasters and technological disasters. More so, over the past year, we have endured an anomaly. We have seen more disasters occur in one year than we often get in a given year. This year alone, we've seen fires rush through the states, floods rage through regions, tsunamis hit coast, volcanoes erupt, and tornadoes destruct our nation. And yet every chance we get for recovery calls for more attention in another area for response. In each disaster, we have people that are more susceptible for harm than others, such as children, the disabled, and the elderly. Children are unprepared and need the guidance of an adult to help them accomplish recovery. They're uneducated in matters of distress and could never bear it alone. The disabled require more attention for recovery as well, but more commonly need help with health issues. The elderly combine to make up a unique combination of the two. The elderly are not ignorant, nor are they incapable of helping themselves, but rather more frail. As we age, there are things we can't do that we once were able to do. Our bodies may no longer be able to endure heavy lifting or swift movement, therefore when disasters arise, they are almost always in need of help. Most elderly people do have health issues that put them more at risk, such as diabetes, cancer, or even mental disorders such as dementia. One day out of their element could cause a lifetime of harm. Not only are elderly people initially at risk for disaster when it hits, but once it occurs, the disaster can cause more issues to arise. For instance, our most recent devastating hurricane, Hurricane Katrina, left many without homes as well as without essential necessities. 80% of New Orleans was flooded, and some areas had more than 15 feet of water. Someone living with diabetes that requires insulin injections could have been depleted of their stock and could have possibly died from the lack of medicine instead of the actual devastation of the storm. Although this was not reported, it is an incident that could have clearly taken place in such a time of devastation. Disaster can cause people to have onsetting issues such as stress, which can in turn lead to things such as heart attacks from the devastation they occur and witness. The elderly are more at risk for things like this. During Hurricane Katrina, it was reported that the first 3 deaths were of those of nursing home occupancies who died during the evacuation process. It is vital that the elderly have a plan for disaster. Some disasters can be foreseen, others cannot. In the instances in which they can, the elderly should have things in place ready to make a move as needed. A person of contact is always a good idea. If you know the storm is going to be more than you can handle, or you and your spouse can handle, then you should evacuate before the storm arises. Find somewhere that is or should be well out of harm's way. If you are unable to defeat the storm by traveling afar, then be sure to evacuate to a place where the assistance you may need is available. If you plan on staying where you are, then one needs to make sure that 1. The storm is bearable to endure. I do not recommend any elderly person, or anyone for that matter, staying in their home during a Category 5 hurricane. 2. Be sure you have plenty of resources, such as food and water. One can go a month without food, but no more than 7 days without water. It's essential and vital for life. And 3. Be sure you have a contact in which you can reach after the disaster occurs. If there is any damage, or you are in need of any help, this person can be there to assist you. One also needs to keep in mind that although the disaster is the main problem, it only creates more issues for the area it occurs. For example, after Hurricane Katrina, people were frightened. Many were without homes and living on streets. People began fighting for survival needs, creating an unbearable milling process. Because rescue efforts were focused on first, the public security quickly lagged. People were looting, fighting. There were even a few homicides reported as well as several other criminal activities occurring. Hurricanes are a common disaster that we are warned of in advance. However, there are many that we are not warned about, much like the tsunami that hit Japan earlier this year, as well as the earthquakes several areas in our country have endured. Although we cannot prevent these things from happening or evacuate before the incidents occur, we can have a plan when they do. I encourage anyone capable to reach out and help the elderly in times of devastation. After all, one day we too will be the elderly population and may need the assistance they do today.